The topic today is a little different. I'm looking at sociology, the sociology of translators, and I want to report on an actual research project that we just finished. And the research project is here. It's on the status of the translation profession in the European Union. You'll be happy it doesn't concern the United States for once. At all. It's been done over the past 9 months for the Directorate General for Translation of the European Commission. Simply, they put out a call for tenders. We presented a proposal to do the research. We spent 9 months doing it. And you can see it's not to be cited or circulated. So by the time this video gets anywhere public, I assume it will be public, and there are no real secrets to be revealed. This is live, then I'm probably in trouble. Okay. The authors, myself, and then François Grain, Claudio Sfredo, and Andy Chan in Hong Kong. I'm working with 3 economists in this. So I'm providing a little bit of sociology, and they're providing a ton of economics theory, and I'll explain why right now, okay? It has to do with what this term status means. Status doesn't mean how well you can actually do a job. And status doesn't mean the eternal laments, nobody recognizes translators for their true worth, we're underpaid, we're exploited. No, status is a term that has to do with how well you can signal your skills and expertise in a market. And we're using market economics as a point of departure. After the market economics, I'm going to deal with some theoretical problems of sociology in this field, but you might be interested in the contribution of the economists. Andy Chan was my doctoral student, who was the first to apply the economic theories to translation. The particular economic theories I'll be talking about. It's a quick piece of research. We pointed out to our clients that they were not giving us enough time and certainly not enough money to go out and collect good original data on such a huge field. We argued that in reality there are quite a few surveys out there, and that we were offered to spend their money doing a survey of surveys. That is, we get together the information that's already been collected by other people. We try to make the various surveys speak to each other. That is very hard. And we reinterpreted the raw data in one rather large survey. So it's a secondary activity, which was a risk, but we did make that claim, and we justified the claim later on. We had the help of just under 100 experts and informants throughout Europe and the United States and Australia and Canada. The survey does have comparisons with 3 other countries. We got information from 139 associations. I'll talk about why there are so many translator associations. And we did the in-depth of that one. Now, the approach to this comes from the theory of asymmetric information. And I'll briefly explain what this is. And I'm very interested in it for the same reason I was interested in Habermas's ethics of communication, his pragmatics, trying to base a theory of society on the means of communication. Now, neoclassical economics is based on a subject, or a view of the human subject, that is a rational egoist. We reduce all of us to people who are rational and people who are egoistic. We are all acting in our own interests, and it's good to do so if you've read Adam Smith. I'm quite happy with the egoistic part, because the theory justifies itself. If there's a little altruism there, then cooperation is going to be so much easier. So we take the rational egoist bit as the minimal subjectivity we need in order to enter into a communicative act. According to asymmetric information theory, When we sell a good or service, and we're selling, I think, a service, translators are selling, exchanging their services, it's in our interests to lie. That is, we have every interest in presenting the level of our expertise, competence, skills at a higher level than what it actually is, to get more money. At the same time, our employers, our clients, and some of you are employers and clients, also have a rational interest in under-evaluating, in not telling to the translator the true value of their services. That's how you make a profit, or that's how you pay for yourself, for your own existence. So you have these two parties fundamentally lying to each other about unknown values. The assumption is, this is the theory of asymmetric information. The assumption is the translator knows the true value of their skills better than the client. And the client knows the true value of the services better than the translators. So we're in a situation of asymmetric information. The client is trying to discover the true value of the translator's skills, and the translator, if they're smart, would like to figure out what the client is doing with the services anyway. Why would we be interested in that? Well, all goes well as long as the lies are not too big. As long as there's a band of tolerance, a range, between the signals we send out about our skills and the true value of the skills and the other part, then reproduction can happen. Then we will go back and do a second job and a next job, and gradually clients will build up their own image, and we'll figure out what is a fair price for that particular client. Over time, there is an established limits of tolerance for the little lies we can tell. Okay? Now, the classic model for this, that's asymmetric information theory. And that's okay. I like that as a corrective to Habermas's ethics, which is basically tell the truth, tell the truth, tell the truth. There's something appealing in a theory that says, we're all lying, but if we don't lie too much, social life can continue. The market can work. However, the theory of adverse selection deals with cases where the lying gets out of hand and the market doesn't work. The classic study in adverse selection is the market for lemons. You know what a lemon is? That's a lemon. A lemon is a used car that is no good. Now, as a student, I went through a lot of lemons. If you've been in the used car, sorry, pre-owned car, pre-loved car, I don't know what they call it these days, but when you buy a car that has been driven by somebody else for a certain time, and if you're like me, you don't know what's there. It looks shiny, it looks great, you can get the numbers and things, the mileage, but they might have fixed up the, whatever that. You don't know because you're not an expert. A mechanic could find out, but fundamentally, in this market, you don't know what is there. It's like people when they buy a translation in a language they don't know. And that's what our services are based on. That's how most of our relations with clients are working. So the used car seller has to send signals about the quality of the car. And I don't know if you can go back to the 1960s. This was the sort of standard joke of the commercial salesman who would tell lies. Every car is a beauty, but some of them are lemons. The salesman knows more or less which ones are the lemons, but he or she wants to get rid of those cars along with the rest. Now, the market for lemons is such that if there is no reliable signaling mechanism about the quality, what's going to happen? Two things. People who go buying cars are going to get lemons, and they're going to feel deceived, and they're not going to come back into the market. That's the first problem. You're going to drive out a good part of the clientele. The people who come into the market are going to pay a lower price because there's higher uncertainty. So the price for second-hand cars is going to go down because of poor signaling. And the third thing that will happen is that the good cars, the cars that are not lemons, the really good pre-loved cars, are not going to get their true value on that market, so they're not going to get into that market. People are going to hold on to them for longer. And you get the disappearance of a viable second-hand car market. Adverse selection means that good cars move out of the market, bad cars are the only ones that remain, and the price goes down, and you effectively lose a viable market. Our question was, in this study, is that happening in translations, in the market for translations in Europe? Is it such that the prices are being driven down so that good translators cannot be sure to have their skills recognized and they will move out? Now, in the used car market, the solution was to introduce mandatory standardized signaling mechanisms. The industry regulated itself in many countries so that you had to have a sticker giving the exact data, or you had to have a mechanic go over the car and produce a report so that the buyer could get a reliable signal about the worth of the object. The parallel in the translation market would be certification. The signals that translators have concerning their skills. The signals could be what? An academic degree. So we had to figure out, are academic degrees working as good signals on the market? Professional certifications, such as the ATA exam in the United States, or the Chartered Institute of Linguists, various exams in Britain. These are not academic, these are professional examination systems. Are they working as efficient signals to maintain the market? And the various other things that are in place, notably employers who have their own examination systems. Okay? So that's what we're looking at. That's what we mean by status. Status is really the signaling mechanisms that translators have to indicate their worth. To be efficient, the signaling mechanism has to be recognized by the market and trusted. Can you guess what we found, more or less? Do you think we found adverse selection? Do you think we found good translators leaving the market? Do you think we found falling prices for translations? Okay. Here's some of the things we found. Here is somebody selling a signal. This is the Certified Translation Professional Program set up by the Global Translation Institute. It's run by a very lovely looking woman, who puts her face all over the website. It's not here, happily. Okay. And she is selling, I'll move on to what she's selling. This is also part of the same website. This is L Store, your language store, right? Find what you need for your translation biz. What do you need to set up a translation company? Categories. You need free services. You need cat tools. You need a database of agencies, a database of translators. You need desktop publishing. Oh, and certification. It's one of those things you need to set up your business. Where do you get certification? You go on the website and you get to here. We can give you certification. You can pay, I think it's about sorry, this is American, oh no, American dollars. You read the materials written by Adriana Tassini, that's her name, Adriana, who's written lots about the translation profession in a very non-language specific way. It's giving you lots of good tips in about 40 very short internet publications, so you don't really have to buy the book, you can just read it. And then you do a test. Now she has on her staff that's listed on the website, she offers 6 languages, but you can do the test in 22. I mean, the staff are competent in 6 languages, you can do the test in 22 languages, so I'm led to assume the test doesn't concern your language competence. It concerns whether or not you've read Adriana's 40 internet pieces on the translation biz, okay? And you get a certificate. You get certification. And if you fail the test, you can do it 2 weeks later and come back and pay more money and get it again, okay? Why would people trust that? What is Adriana selling that is trustworthy? Well, it's a great website and set of websites. She looks really good. The internet publications look fine. There's nothing wrong with them, as far as I can tell. It's somebody who has a certain experience of the market. It comes out of an office in Portland, but I checked the business directory for Portland for that address and that building and that floor, and it's certainly not registered there. But there's a telephone number in Cambridge, Massachusetts, which seems to be where they're working from. And Adriana's main selling point to you is she's a bona fide, as soon as they say bona fide, that's suspicious, Harvard alumni. Should be alumna, but anyway, that she has studied at Harvard. She doesn't tell us what she studied, she doesn't tell us any degree, but she's done something there, and the telephone is in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I've been trying to find out more about this. Stay tuned. Interestingly, most of these certification systems that work like this do rely on academic prestige. The mention of Harvard, there's another one, there's an International Translators Association set up in Buenos Aires by people who were actually thrown out of the normal, perhaps Maria Inés can tell us about this, I don't know, the normal association for traductores públicos. They set up the global one. And part of the prestige that they're selling is, actually, to be a member there is really good because you get an email address with the International Association. You get the right to use their logo, which has justice on it. I should find that website. You know, ethics. And they have some academics who support them, notably Noam Chomsky. Not a great translator, but academic prestige, absolutely. Okay. It's interesting that the people selling these signals do fall back. Well, the logo, the justice, the great website are important. The email address is actually quite important as well. But academic prestige does help in strengthening these signals. What then is the worth of degrees and training in this game of asymmetric information? What we have found, and I was so ready to go to Brussels and give this absolute result, that in no country in the world is a translation and interpretation a protected profession. Protected means like doctors and nurses and lawyers and architects and engineers. Okay? They get a degree and they become a member of a profession, and if you don't have the degree, you're not in the profession. Okay? That does not work for translators anywhere in the world. And then Martin came along. We came across Martin. He filled out a questionnaire, didn't say very much, and then he bit by bit revealed he had a whole doctoral thesis on this, and then bit by bit revealed that Slovakia has legislation which does make translation and interpreting a protected profession, that you do need a degree or certain years of experience or residence in a foreign country where the language is taught. I mean, but it is protected in Slovakia. Congratulations. As far as I found, you're the only place. Okay? For the rest, you do not need, legally, a degree in translation and interpreting to work as a translator and interpreter. For some very good reasons. I confess, I have never studied translation and interpreting formally. Because in my country, in the time I was at university, it didn't exist. Okay? So there's a whole generation that has risen to positions of power, relative power, would-be power, without this kind of signaling, and so this signaling is a relatively new thing and is having trouble establishing its worth. However, when we interview employers, we do find that they give particular weight to the Institute of Linguists diploma in the United Kingdom, but you can do it outside of the United Kingdom. The ATA certification, absolutely, in the United States, works very well on the market. People with it do get paid more. You can see this test of the strength of the signal. And the German academic degree does have a professional status, albeit not by law, that employers, especially the government, will ask for a Diplom-Übersetzer. That is, a person who has been trained as a translator or interpreter in a 4.5-year undergrad program, or these days, a 3 + 2, 5-year academic program. Outside of that, though, we don't find the academic degrees having great value on the market. That is, you can test it. In the survey data, you get the people who have degrees, the people who don't, and you check out their self-report on how much they earn or what their annual turnover is, and you find not much difference. A little difference, but not systematic. Rather than trust academic certification, most employers, including our clients, we hasten to point this out to them because they're interested in setting up certification. Most do their own testing. That is, they don't care what stories, what signals the translator already has. They're going to put you in there and let's see what you can do. That is, they don't trust the academic signals, they don't trust the experience signals, they don't trust whatever the translator is saying. Let's see what you can do. Okay? That testing is very expensive. We're looking at intake exams, recruitment exams. I think Anne Lefebvre is defending her doctoral thesis on these recruitment testing exams. You get pass rates of 2 to 5% from the number of people who sign up and the number of people who are employed at the end. A lot of institutional resources go in that selection process because there's not good signaling prior to the process. Okay, so this in itself suggested to us that the market might benefit from some additional unified kind of certification in Europe. And the best models might be the ATA certification system, the NATI certification system in Australia, which is very developed, perhaps too developed in its categories, and to look at the Diplom-Übersetzer and look at the IOL. I mean, look at the signals that do seem to be working, but don't trust the ones that aren't working. Our clients, as you might know, the DGT, has invested heavily in trying to improve master's programs. They set up a European Masters in Translation, which is a model that that master's programs in Europe are supposed to follow. That has been their strategy, to upgrade the training. A smarter strategy might be to have a set of exams or some kind of certification system that sends out a strong signal of actual worth. We were asked to look by our clients at the specific field of sworn translation or authorized translation. Northern European tends to call it authorized translations. Southern European sworn, jurado, traducción jurada. In South America, un traductor público, okay? Public translator. These are the people who have a particular status in that their translations can be legally valid documents. Okay, so we're talking about the people who do that. Most countries have it, and it is a protected title, but in most countries it's not, you don't get there through having an academic degree. The standard thing is there's a separate exam, or you have to belong to a particular association that is responsible for this. Okay? Now, I'll just show you, sorry, this, okay, 5 countries you can get there through an academic training or sitting an exam, so it's one or the other. 7 countries don't have this institution. Translations are certified by the legal profession, not by the translators. Okay, that would be the United Kingdom, but you'll see in a minute why that's important. And I just love that sentence. Greece is in flux. Greece has sort of got three systems happening all at the same time, and they don't really know what they're doing. Okay. What's interesting is you map that, and I did the map to indicate, because when you come in and you say, well, this is one area where we could harmonize the criteria, where Europe could adopt one kind of status to solve this problem, so it would be the same across all the countries. And the legal profession tells you, no, it's embedded in our legal traditions. So the United Kingdom has a common law tradition, as we know, and that tradition does not require sworn translators. The professional figure of a sworn translator does not exist as such. If you need a certification, you go to a legal professional, a notary of some kind. However, when we did the map of what exists, you'll find that having translation certified by somebody else, maybe in some places by a translator who has who works with a lawyer, is in Britain and Ireland, but also Portugal, Italy, remarkably enough, Turkey, who's included in our sample. Was that Romania? Oh, God, I'm sorry. Apologies. Hungary, of course. Oh, we've got two countries there, Lithuania and... Thank you, good. Those ones. Okay. The point being that radically different legal systems do share the same system for sworn or authorized translators, which suggests to us that this is not immutable, that we should not listen to the legal experts who tell us it can't be done, don't touch our legal system. It's not that at all. It's pure convention that decides to divide Europe up this way. And it would be possible, and that's in our recommendations, it would be possible to harmonize procedures across Europe, just by pointing this out to the resistance, quite massive resistance, on the part of the national associations and the legal profession.